We're back from international break. We've got league football, proper football, real football, Hibs. Hibs and real football in the same sentence, but we're going to go with that anyway. Back on Saturday, we've got Livingston coming to Easter Road. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday, which is like a proper novelty in itself these days. John, you were first on, so I'll start with you. What would you like to kick us off with tonight?
I think it's nice to have got the international break out the way, to have got the start of the season out the way, and this is where we've drawn a line on everything that's happened in the past. And this has to be a point where the squad just picks up and starts showing us the quality that they've got, if I'm
This is
honest.
a chance for a bit of a line in the sand and kickstart the season.
Certainly in my head, that's what it's been. I think the three away fixtures or the four away fixtures that we've just done have been disappointing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
mostly performances. Falkirk in terms of throwing away a 2-0 lead. The the players are there. We've seen the quality, and the most convincing I've seen us against Livingston was in the cup earlier in the season. So the expectations are relatively high. We're at home, and same as Kilmarnock, um, it's one of those games that we just have to go in, perform, and put to bed.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter who he puts on the pitch. Doesn't matter that there's been 9 players away on international duty. It should simply be the idea that has been said by you guys and many others is that the difference in budgets between ourselves and Livingston should simply show on the pitch.
You mentioned the cup game there. We obviously won that one quite comfortably. Although Ian, I think it was you that made the point at the time that we never actually sort of sealed the game until more or less the last couple of minutes when Mulligan scored. But that game, John, was notable because we had Mane in the midfield. We had like Megwa played right back that day,
Yeah,
and
Manny
Clichy.
and Chaiwa doing the holding positions. Clige with what is potentially for us his trademark front post header
Mhm.
because Rocky pinched the goal off him at Easter Road. I mean, getting into that front post. We found out that Mulligan could hit a shot, uh, but candidly, Livingston huffed and puffed for a bit of the game. Never really got through us. Didn't threaten us. The We didn't play Nicky Cadden that day. We didn't. We had Boyle and Clegy with the two up top.
Mhm.
So in terms of just trying to put in a bit of pace, Bowie got the whole game on the bench to rest. It was it was one of those performances at the start of the season with Europe bouncing around that was giving us that bit of not hope, but a bit of expectation building and to say, actually, we've turned a bit of a corner. We've come to a venue that we've struggled at over years with a plastic pitch that's never ideal in the sunshine, and actually professional performance, put them away onto the next round. I mean, and that was a feeling at that time. We've got to get back to that.
Mhm. It's
We've
not.
opened the South Stand. There'll be a big crowd in. Just do the business.
Yeah, I was just about to mention the crowd. There is another big crowd. I think it's a Hibs Kids Day as well. So a chance to put on a bit of a show. And again, John, these are the opportunities that Hibs need to take to kind of build on the big crowds, isn't it? To put on a good performance and get a result so that these people want to come back.
Yeah. And if we're going to finish top four in the league, we've got to win these home games against Livingston and other teams that will end up below us in the league this season.
Agreed. Okay, thank you, John. I'll bring Jeff in next. Jeff, you were next on. What did you want to talk about?
Yeah, it'll be an interesting team selection tomorrow. There's been a lot of talk about is Gray going to change it up? Kind of hampered by some of the injuries. Still missing Neo. Chai was not available, is he? I read
No.
somewhere, which is disappointing. I thought this was a game made for him. Chaiwa. Manny's still out. So yeah, just interesting. Is he going to stick with a 3-4-3, 3-5-2, whatever you want to call it, or will we go back to a flat back four? Try and get some more attackers in. I don't know.
What would you do?
Yeah, what would I do? I'd stick with a three for the moment and just put it down to some of our key players not hitting the form they hit last season, and some of the new boys started off like a train, but hit the buffers recently as well. That
Hmm.
could be because of the type of games we were playing away from home against Rangers Celtic. Falkirk first half was okay. Hearts was just an attritional, horrible game of football. I'm not going to count that. So yeah, interesting. I would probably stick with 3 at the back. Iredale, Hanley, O'Hara, maybe Chris Cadden, Nicky Cadden on the wings, Mulligan, Levitt, McGrath, Bowie, and Clegy. See how it goes. But yeah.
You mentioned Chiva not being available, and I agreed. Now I think about it, I don't actually know if I have seen that at all. So he might be available, Jeff. I was agreeing with you, but I don't know if he is available or not.
I've read it somewhere that his hamstring is a little bit worse than they thought, so he's not available for this week.
Nightmare.
I've definitely read it somewhere, unless I've dreamt it. I hope he is available. I'd have him in instead of Levitt in my team. But yeah.
Okay, just quickly go to the YouTube comments. Ronnie said, "Hi bangers, hi Ronnie." Jay Star said, "Hopefully Nicky starts on Saturday. We need his creativity. He's had no minutes since Falkirk. This is the type of game. Clegy as well needs to start." Sandy said, "Hi bangers, and great to see Chris and Stephen be back. Come on the Hibs." And Colin WLB said, "Has other John honestly on Movember?" I'm not quite sure if that sentence makes sense, but you in for a bit of Movember, John? You're on mute. Mute-vember. You're on.
Mute-vember, yeah. Yeah, they could be. I mean, talking about Livy, Matty, sorry, back to
yes, back
they're
to business.
They're allegedly playing more expansive football, or not just doing their usual anti-football, especially at their place. I've not seen much of their games or even the highlights, so I can't really comment. Maybe the others will. But if the company's thrown and try and play football, it could be an absolute goal fest tomorrow. I think we'll take quite a few of them.
Is that your expectation, Jeff? That it's always dangerous, isn't it? Like when we predict lots of goals, it very, very rarely materialises. But is that more hope than expectation, or do you fancy us for it?
If they sit in, park the bus, it'll be a dodgy 1-0, 2-0. If they come out, I can see us sticking 3 or 4 past them. We've got the firepower, we've got the players. McGrath is due another goal. Mulligan, Nicky Cadden firing them in from the left. There's no reason why we can't. We're a better team than them. We're a better team. If we play to our potential, no matter what team they put out, we should win. It's just a matter of how they play. Whatever team comes at Easter Road and parks a bus, it's very difficult to break them down. It might even be a game for Junior Hoylett if he puts his boots on the right feet for a change this season. Was it your podcast, or it might have been the Down the Slope where they're on about his body's been taken over this season by somebody else? Because Junior Hoylett last season has not appeared this season yet. That's but it might be a game for him to unpick the defence coming from the left. Play him instead of one of the others. I'm not sure.
He's definitely been a wee bit off form. It was down the slope on their transfer window or transfer windows rating episode worth checking out. Thanks, Jeff. Chris, you were next on. What did you want to talk about?
I didn't really have anything to talk about, to be fair. I just thought I'd come on and show my face.
Nice one.
Plus, I'm in the middle of moving house, so I'm kind of like taking a break. But no, I think if we're talking teams, I think I'd want to see us change it up a little bit. And just look to see if you can maybe get a grip a bit more in the middle of the park and then allow our attacking play to go ahead. So for me, as much as it was not working at last season, go back to the sort of 4-2-3-1. Obviously, it's looking like Chai was not going to be there, so a sitting 2, Levitt and Barlasa, with the 3 in front, which would be, I think, Clegy off the right, McGrath in that 10, and I'm going to be controversial and say put Ellie Ewan out on the left.
It's funny, I thought you were going to say that. And if you hadn't, I was going to ask you if you would consider bringing Ewan back into the team, because he's obviously been posting on social media to almost announce that he is fit and available to play. So you think this might be a game for him, Chris?
Yes. I think it's all fine and well Ellie doing his talking on social media, but at some point he has to do his talking on the park. He isn't going to get the move that he thinks his ability deserves if he doesn't get his sell on the park. So for me, he has to knuckle down the next 2 months, start putting in some performances, and we recoup some sort of money on him. And we get the benefit of a fully fit, firing, motivated Ellie Yuan. Because ultimately, when it comes into probably sheer brilliance and talent, there's probably nobody better in the squad.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we need to find a way of getting them motivated and at it. So for me, putting him in against, and I'm going to be brutal here, a bunch of jobbers like Livy, he should go and run riot.
Aye, hopefully they didn't watch this. That'll be one of these ones that
Oh,
come
well,
back to bite us on the arse.
well, Davy Boy doesn't like the podcasters, does he?
I saw that. What did you think of his comments talking about? So it was just the podcast about the media talking the game down. Do you think are we guilty of that? Do we focus too much on the negatives?
Probably. I think we ultimately, when you look at any sort of social media after any team's performance, they generally are focused on negative. Unless they're absolutely brilliant, there's always people that will look for the negative, and then you're only one result away from the mob mentality.
Mm.
And ultimately, we're sitting, like, as you take it back to the Scotland game, which I kind of think he was referencing anyway, like, we got 6 points out of 6. Aye, the performances were pish, but we've all been there. We've all been there and seen Scotland play well. Me and Stephen used to go to loads of games, see us play well, walk out wondering how we got beat. We see it with Hibs where we've been brilliant, and we walk out wondering how we've not won the game. So at some point, and even this weekend, I'll take a result over a scintillating performance because we need 3 points. And I think people sometimes need to just take a step back and realise that, you know what, it's not like the objective is 3 points. How you get it is irrelevant, really.
We obviously spoke about that in extra time this week. Is that where you land on that one, Chris? Would you rather watch does the end justify the means, I suppose? Like if it's a shit performance, but we win, you go away happy, or are you just as content when we play well and don't?
You want to be entertained, but ultimately, nobody, like, it's all right saying somebody's playing great football, but great football doesn't always win you games.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, you can get relegated. Play like Motherwell, as much as they're getting plaudits for playing attack and passing for the back football, like, I don't think they've won a game yet, or they've won one. Like, they're not doing that great, and they could easily find themselves relegated. So, would I rather be a bit more stodgy and then take a 1-0 or a 2-0 somewhere along the line? Absolutely. Ultimately, our objective is, and the player's objective, the manager's objective, to win games. This whole fallacy about brands of football and it's a Hibs way and things like that, it's just like, what is the Hibs way? Like, play good football and get beat by a last-minute goal? Because in my lifetime, that's essentially what it's been.
Yeah.
So I would rather have the David Gray style, which we had last season, which was play okay, be resolute, and get 3 points.
I'd be happy with that. Okay, right, stay tuned. We've got more to come on YouTube comments, so we'll pick some of them up in a wee minute. But Joe, you're next up on the list. Would you want to move things on to?
I think moving on, it sums it up well. That's what we need to do, is move our season on. We've had a very, very disappointing start, but they're all agree with that. Livingston at home, now is a chance, and I think we need to play our best team that we've got available. And that would mean, in my view, playing 4 at the back, playing both Hanley and Rocky in the middle of a back 4.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 up front, Bowie and Klidgey, but with Bowie not just being the holding centre forward, being what we had at the second half of last season. And with what we've got available, in my view, I'm sorry to hear that Chadwick's not available. The midfield 4 then picks itself. You got Mulligan, McGrath, Dylan Levitt, and Nicky Cadden. That's my team. That team would win about 4 or 5-0 in my view. Because Bowie needs to be playing a slightly different role up front, as we've discussed on this podcast before.
Yeah.
So would you like to see him kind of getting in behind Joe rather than the target man?
Yes, absolutely. We lose a lot of Kieran Bowie's abilities by using him just as a target man. The way I can understand David Gray wanting to tweak things, all right, let's move things on, play slightly differently, but it's not worked. You know, the definition of insanity is to continuously do the same thing and expect a different outcome. We've got to change the way we're playing if we're going to improve and kick on from now.
Okay, Jeff, you raised your hand there. You want to come on what Joe's saying?
Just very quickly, who would you have as your fullbacks with Rocky and Hanley?
Yeah. So basically,
I've got two formations. I've got the 3 whatever, and I've also got the 4-3-3.
Well, I mean, O'Hara and Iredale would be my right and left back, as it were.
Yeah, I've got Megwar at right back, and Iredale is left back in mine. Iredale can play left back.
Yes, and I suppose you're right. Actually, I correct myself. Good point, because O'Hara is good in a back 3, but being in the right of a back 4. Yes, I think you're right. Megwar would be better. So I'll correct the team I've just shared. Thank you for suggesting that.
I'll have Obita as left back, but I think he's going to be probably rested after his AFCON exertions.
Yes, and if you're playing a 4-4-2, I would still have Iredale before Obita. Now he seems to be coming back to some of last season's form.
Yeah.
John, you raised your hand.
It's just the idea that, I mean, I've got no objections to going to a back 4, but the fact that we're putting Rocky and Hanley into the middle of it, and both of those players have been away on international duty for the past 2 weeks. So effectively, there's no time on the training pitch to drill that. So I mean, that's the only thing that I think is against it this weekend. I mean, I don't think that you wouldn't bring, whilst the 2 players have the knowledge, you've got to have drilled that a bit on the pitches at East Mains before you move to it. The other side is that if you go for that, you put O'Hara and you put Iredale in, because they will have been at East Mains. So if he's going to do it, I think it'll be those 2. But I think weaknesses at fullback is a problem.
Especially right back.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, right, Kieran on YouTube. So let's be honest, Cleege will get 3 minutes, which has been a bit of a pattern with Cleege, isn't it? Jay Starr said Boyle definitely needs time on the bench. Not been great for us, and Australia fans annoyed with him this international break, saying he was poor. Sandy asking, is our club captain fit because he's got to be dying to play? I think Newell's been back training, but I think he's still a wee bit away from being able to play. Green Tea said absolutely, Chris. I think there's a reference to the need to win. Donna said just get the points. We need 3 points. And Jay Star said agree. Points more important than performance, but it eventually catches up on you and you get beat heavy if poor all the time. And Kieran said playing good football consistently gives you a better chance of winning games, though. And Ronnie said I was impressed by that fan from Japan. What a guy, deserves a mention. Hope we can win for him. I don't know if he's saw the article on the Hibs website about the guy. His name escapes me at the moment, but yeah, it was pretty cool. Ian, I'll bring you in next. What did you want to talk about?
I want to talk about how entertaining it was to have Colin introducing the Admiral Fallow guy with Lois. I thought it was really, really interesting. And I was stunned that the guy could hold down a job, be the father of 2 kids, be in a
Colin's
band.
got 3 kids. All right, another guy you're talking about.
Oh, no, it's the other guy, Lois. He's got 2 kids. He's got a full-time job and he's in a band. And he gets along to Hibs matches whenever he can. I was really impressed. But I thought it was a really good episode. I love I just want to correct Joe. Joe, the communications officer of the Star Trek Enterprise is Uhura, right? Our back is O'Hara, okay? So I love the fact that we had the 11 internationals and the fact that Cleege played against Rocky. I thought that was brilliant. And I don't know how Graham recognised me yesterday at Pure Gym in Gorky, but I had pouring the sweat and I had my bike helmet on to cycle home. And he said, "Hi, are you Ian?" I said, "Aye." So hello to Graham. A bit more seriously, we had a guy on the 2016 bus, Glenn Urquhart, died. And Glenn was a great laugh. He was really, really smart. So what we're trying to do on the 70th minute, Glenn was 70. He was on the 2016 bus for all our games, and we're hoping that Libby on the 70th minute we get a minute's applause. So Glenn Urquhart, great guy, really cool guy. I had no idea he was ill. And then suddenly we lose a Aye, so hellish. I'd like to just last week I just talked about the number of variables that were changing. So I just feel that if you're managing anything and you're trying to get the right blend, then you change one thing at a time. And I think we need stability and the players getting used to each other. And we saw that in the Hearts game. I mentioned last week when Boyle anticipated Josh Campbell's flick, and he's still got to get that understanding with Bowie. He's just not got the same understanding he did with Josh Campbell in that time anyway. But so far, I had a look at all of the changes that we've had over the 15 competitive games. So far, we've had 31 changes of personnel, and we've had 7 changes of formation. Now, obviously, some of these were against Celtic and against the European opposition. But Boyle started 14. Bowie started 13, Mulligan 13, O'Hara 13, and Obita 13. Then we're down to Rocky 12, Chris Cadden 10, Levitt, Smith, and Iredale on 10. So we just got to be careful. 3-4-2-1, 3-4-1-2, 3-4-3, 5-3-2, 5-4-1. It must be quite difficult for the players, And if you start changing the personnel at the same time, we'll just change 3 this time or whatever. You just got to be careful. I had a look at Livy's record. I thought it was quite good, actually. Obviously, they're only 2 points behind us just now. We've got the game in hand. But when you look at the results, how close they were against Hearts, for instance, I think Hearts scored in the last minute or something. But Kelly, Falkirk, Hearts, Rangers, Dundee, and Aberdeen, they're all pretty good results for a team like Livy. And I think Jeff said that, I think it was the last episode when he talked about Livy bringing on the land of the giants. I always remember that quote from Jeff. And but they brought them on at the end of the match, and I thought there was quite a lot of pressure on us at that time. I certainly was a bit nervous. My main concern is the fact that Barlaser has just had no impact at all, and he's a lone player. We owe him nothing, and so he's my this year's Kukurevich. He's had no impact. He's not better than we've got, and so we have to have Dylan Levitt back in. We've lost his creativity. I think it was Colin that said the same thing about Barlaser, but I just feel he's had no impact. I'd love to think that Joe Newell might be on the bench. I'd love to see that. But the main thing is that I just didn't want us to change too much. I just want us to beat Livy. I just want us to beat them. And I think we should be playing. I mean, obviously, I was very surprised. I was very surprised that Mulligan actually was drafted into the Scotland squad, because and I've heard people say he should be our starting wing back, but unfortunately, I've not seen him have very good performances, especially against Rangers, where he just got taken to the cleaners. So I don't see Mulligan's strength as being defending. I definitely see his strength as being ball winner in midfield and just the injured. So we've just got to be careful. I don't like talking about individual players, but when they're lone players, I just don't think we should tolerate somebody like Barlaser, who's just a negative sort of guy.
Are you going in early on Barlaser, though, Ian? I mean, this is. Have we fallen into this trap before, where we write a player off after a couple of games, or to say that he's not going to be good enough for the rest?
No,
of the
that's not what I
season?
said. That's not what I said. What I said was he's not had any impact, right? So if somebody gets brought in, they obviously, if you make a change, you say, okay, we've made a change. What was the impact? What was the impact? And I mean, he's had 4 games now. 3 games now. So he's had 3 consecutive games, Falkirk, Celtic, and Hearts. And to my mind, the change is not there's been no impact. There's just been no impact. So if you make a change, you say, what's the impact been? Do we keep the change, or do we go back to where we were before? And it's nothing against the player. I'm not saying he's not good enough. I'm just saying he's had no impact.
Okay, we can take that. I actually agree with the point you're making about the limiting the number of changes, and thank you for doing the research to see how many that there have been. So 31, you said, was it? 31 changes?
Yeah, 31 changes on the 15 competitive games and 7 changes of formation. That's back and forward during that time. Not 7 different ones, but 7 changes.
There will be some of that would have been managing minutes at the start of the season, you would think. But how much of it, Ian, do you think is an indication that Gray's still not settled on what his best 11 is.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember, he's always said, and we've always said, that it's not his best 11 that matters, it's the whole squad, right? So it's a squad, it turns out, including the subs. So we've always tried to stress that. I think what's happened is, and I think I said this last week or the week before, I think what's happened is he's brought the players in and he's saying, okay, I brought these players in, I better try and use them. Where am I going to use them? I'll just drop Iredale for the Killie match, I'll drop him, drop Iredale and bring in Grant Hanley. Okay. And then, we're coming out from the European matches. So therefore, we're going to Livingston and then we're going to Legia Warsaw. So I'll bring in McGrath and Icky Cadden for the Legia second game. Okay. So he brought them in. Right. So these are the changes that he's thinking, I need to use Jamie McGrath because he's come in as a big name player as far as we're concerned. So I think he's just trying to use the players he's brought in.
Fair enough. And I should also add, sorry to hear of the loss of Glenn as well. Our thoughts for his friends and family. So the 70th minute, Ian, you said for a minute's applause.
Aye.
I know the Bounce are organising a minute's applause also for Mark Strachan on the 59th minute. So a couple on the go on Saturday.
I spoke to Stevie Carr up in Aberdeen, and he was very pleased that you had mentioned that, but also that he was just shocked because it was the day before the dinner, and but Stevie said the dinner was a great success.
I should mention the dinner actually. It was along as a guest of one of the sponsors there, and what an inspirational story that is. I mean, Stevie's done some job, with the rest of the guys there, and it was like a really moving event. And Mark's brother got up to speak, and obviously that was really moving as well. But there was that, and there was a Ukrainian ambassador to talk about sort of the reality of what Stevie's done. You're going to kind of go and win the war Saturday, just getting his arse over there, and basically.
Well, it's funny because I met. I think I mentioned that when we were coming back from the Warsaw game, I was on the platform, the railway platform, and I met a guy who is an American originally, but he's opening 100 stores for furniture rental in Ukraine. And so I put him in touch with Stevie. So hopefully they can help each other out because he's already donated 1,000 mattresses to people in Ukraine.
Fantastic! Yeah, but yeah, it was obviously a great dinner, and 20 years that they've been on the go, and what a cause that is. And we talk about inspirational and awe-inspiring people when Steve's right up there. What I think they've done. Thanks, Ian. Stephen, I'll bring you in next. What would you like to talk about?
Yeah, it was a nice wee shift from inspirational people moving straight onto me, Matt. I appreciate that. I'd like to speak about anything that doesn't involve questions like, has he done another shit in his nappy? Can you wash a bottle, please? Although, unfortunately, I probably need to talk about Hibs, don't I? So, yeah, it's just nice to be back to real football matters, because the Scotland matches were quite a tough watch over the last week or so. But as Chris says, 6 points out of 6 for Scotland. If we can get 3 points on Saturday, I'd be happy to chuck away a Galactical performance just to get the 3 points, because Saturday for me now is an absolute must-win, Matty. It's all things aside, we need to get back to winning marks because we've not won since the first day of the season. So Saturday needs to be the first 3 points at home for since May, I think it would be. We've not won at home this season at all in any competition, which is disappointing considering we're now midway through October. But yeah, that's where we're at, unfortunately.
They were good to see the baby. Did we get to see the baby?
He's sleeping at the moment. We can just about see his head. I don't know if it can show.
Yeah, we can see his head.
He's like his dad. He's got dark brown hair. Although the hospital described it as a different colour entirely. But yeah.
How old is he?
He was born on the 23rd of September, Joe, so he's 3 weeks and 2 days.
Oh, wonderful.
Many congratulations.
Congratulations.
Unfortunately, I was out. I think I put this in one of the chats. I was outvoted to call him Lewis. So unfortunately, I can't introduce him as Lewis, Stephen's son, which I'll take to my grave. Yeah.
Now, I was going to ask you something which is completely gone from my head because we were thrown with baby talk. So it was to do with not having won the season and consciously not trying to talk us into a crisis as well, because this is the other thing, going back to what Martindale was talking about with folk, podcasters focusing on the negatives and everything. It's very easy for us to start saying about must win games and all the rest of it, but it does feel that the sort of the feel good factor Stevens dropped away. The Derby defeat obviously is a real sucker punch for everybody. It is important we get back on the horse and get some wins under the belt now, isn't it?
It absolutely is. I think for me, what's behind the drop and feeling of excitement and enthusiasm is probably the expectations going into the season from last season were so high. And in my opinion, it was still a relatively good transfer window, minus a right back or a right sided player and a second choice striker, or maybe even a first choice striker with the form that Bowie and Boiler in. I think, Matt, it's probably just because we come into this season with so much higher expectations than last season. We are really failing to deliver on it. But if you look at the home form, though, we've played well against Kilmarnock for the first 45, collapsed the second, played well for most of the match against St Mirren, conceded the first goal and then we're chasing it. Dundee United was just a bit of a shit show all over, front and back. But there's been signs that we are capable, but it's just stringing it together for 90 minutes, which we've just not done all season. The late goals is starting to creep back in again, which was a thing under Jack Ross, and it was evident at the start of David Gray's tenure last year. We just need to start seeing games out. I'll be honest, I've still not watched the match back from the Derby or the highlights. I actually missed a goal when I was putting the elder one to bed. Just heard it coming through that we were conceded in the 92nd minute. So game management this season's been a bit poor across the season, and the season peak probably the 49th minute to the 61st against Legia. It absolutely peaked. That was probably the best 40 minutes of my life, to be honest. It's been downhill ever since. Then the 93rd minute away to Legia.
How much of the game management issue do you think comes from the fact that we've not got a settled side like that? John mentioned about the two centre halves being away on international duty, so there's no time in the training pitch to build relationships. Ian referenced it with Bowie and Boyle, or Campbell and Boyle. With Boyle picked up on the flick-ons. If we're not getting that chemistry amongst the team, is that like a big factor in not seeing games out, do you think?
I think it certainly can be. I mean, it's one of the ones where last season during the run, everything was going our way, and those flick-ons were dropping for us. The passes were hitting feet and things like that. Confidence works two ways. It can work positively and it can work negatively. And right now, it's just not working in the way that we would hope. But I mean, if we can get a win, I can't. If I'm honest, my head's at Marston right now. I can't even remember who we're playing after Livingston. But if we've got another favourable tie against Livingston, I mean, the Gorgie Globetrotters, they're away at Kilmarnock on Saturday, aren't they? So if they, as expected, and they've already won the league, haven't they? So if they win at Kilmarnock, I think Kilmarnock are sitting third at the moment. So if we win, there's every chance that if Motherwell don't win, despite the fact we've only won 2 in 8 games, we could be sitting third on the table, which is, I said at the start of the season, going into the new season, you need to either match or, go beyond what you achieved last season. And right now, with the form that the Rangers and Celtic are in, third is, I think, achievable. The two above us, potentially if we finish third, I'm not entirely sure who they would be. But, if we win on Saturday and we've got a favourable run of games after that, you'd like to think we've got some home games coming up after 4 straight aways. So if we win on Saturday, use that as momentum to build and just keep going game to game and try and get that, the things that got the run going last year, just try and keep that building.
Momentum is massive, isn't it? So you need that kind of kind run of fixtures, and it does feel like we've not been at home for ages after that busy start to the season. It feels like we've no had a home game for donkeys. Chris, you get your hand up?
No, it's just one on like we're obviously talking about kind of results and performances and stuff, and it's one of the ones like even looking back at that, like we miss a heck of a lot of chances, like a lot. Like at some point, like that'll turn. Like it has to turn. We create enough chances in games, like and even in the derby, like if Boyle puts that one away, like that, like that's probably it. They then are really coming after us. So it's just we need to find a way to be more clinical. And like for me, I think it's one of the ones again, as was mentioned previously, is get Bowie in the box. Let's stop him wrestling with a man like 20-25 yards away from goal.
Totally agree.
We had the same thing last season with Big Mick, like at the start of the season. I know he got a lot of slagging and abuse, but when you looked at his performance, he was basically wrestling with men 25 yards from the goal, isolated. And we're doing that now with Bowie. So, but we're still creating chances. We need to get Bowie in the box and get balls across the box, not to just start firing in. Because for whatever reason, a boy has his height, he doesn't seem, I'm going to say prolific in the air in terms of if he gets a header at goal, I'm not confident he scores it. Whereas if we get it to his feet, he's putting it in the net. So I think we're not a million miles away, and I just think that we're talking about scenic games, but we're talking about scenic games because we're not taking the 5 or 6 good chances that we're getting.
Aye, and that's a really good point. Ian, you your hand up. You want to come in on that as well?
I mean, scoring goals is definitely a problem as far as I'm concerned. Like we defended really well against Celtic and against Hearts, so we should have scored goals. No, the thing I wanted to bring up, Kieran said on the chat there that I have a problem with loan players, but I don't. The only reason for us bringing in loan players is if they're players that we couldn't afford to buy, and they're better than the ones we've got. So. Obviously, last year, Triantis was a really good player for us, and he justified his place by being effective. He was really effective. So therefore, he'd actually improved our quality. Whereas, we owe the loan players nothing. We owe them nothing, and we cannot treat them as if they're our own players. So we've got to treat them differently. And if someone is not effective, then we've got to be more ready to drop them than we are our own players. That's the criteria for a lone player playing.
Okay, John, you hand up.
Stephen was saying about the upcoming games. We play Livingston twice in 3 weeks. I mean, and we should be taking 6 points. And in terms of the team, I think Salinger has now got the gloves. I think we can pick a back three, which will have Hanley in the middle, having displaced Rocky. We'll have Ahora on the right-hand side and Iredale back on the left. You'd have discussion about who's going to play the left side as either a wing-back or left midfield. I mean, whether it's going to be a Beta or whether it's going to be Cadden. Cadden, I think, has nailed on the right side because he's the only one that's naturally going to play there and has the experience. It's the two in the middle of midfield because we're going to play McGrath up front if we can get him in something like either the left side or in the 10 position. I would be surprised. We're going to play Bowie. I think will start, and it's then how is Boyle done coming back and travelling, whether he starts. So it's only the two in midfield that really seem to be the point where Gray hasn't landed on that combination.
Yeah,
and I'm conscious that the games I've seen have either been highlights because they've been away on holiday or have been behind the goals, so you don't get as good a view as to how players are doing. But I think is it Liam off down the slope has nicknamed them as Bar Salsa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Barlassa seems to be getting written off, but Triantis was written off just as early as well. And looking at how Gray sort of models round about that position, is Barlassa the taller player that can drop back into the back three to turn it into a back four and be a bit more defensive and picking the ball up? But if you do that, you're taking Levitt out of the team because you're putting Mulligan in as the other two. But that seems to be the balance, because I think McGrath, if he's fit, and I think that's why he didn't start against Hearts because he'd had the injury. It feels as if there's not that many places up for grabs. I mean, Ian's right, there has been changes all the way through, but I think as the iterations have come in, I think we can see that there's a fairly settled team in there, and it's the two in the middle of the midfield is the key positions.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to try this anyway. I'm going to try and share. So Sandy asked us to talk about a team that Lex Loafer had posted on our Patreon chat. So I'll get your thoughts on this. Hopefully you can see this. Apologies for the tiny writing under each of the players. I'll talk you through it. This is the image that Lex shared. So he's gone for Salinger in goals. Chris Cadden at right back, Rocky and Hanley as your two centre halves, and Jordan Abita at left back. Three in the middle, Mulligan, Chaiwa and McGrath. and then a front three of Clegy on the right, Bowie in the middle, and Nicky Cadden on the left. John, since you've got the mic at the moment, what do you think of that?
On a normal sense, playing against Livingston, I would be saying, yeah, that's the sort of team we should be put out. My caveat from earlier in terms of it's an international break, it's a complete change of system, and it would be a risk to take that onto the pitch. But if we are looking at that, when we're attacking, we should only have two centre backs back. We're attacking with 8 players.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the moment we attack with most 7. I mean, so that's the advantage of going back to a 4. I mean, is that you can put your full backs, you can push them up the pitch. You'll get space out wide. You'll tend to get your midfielders on either side can give support, and you've got players up top that will give support. So you cover more of the pitch, and it's a better system going forward. When we played this last season, though, what we found in our league is that teams will just put 2 big uns right through the middle and run your back 2 ragged, and we stopped leaking goals when we went to a 3.
Yeah.
So I think it's who the 2 are, and that's my concern about going to it. But I think playing Livingston, we should be confident to put in 8 forward-thinking players on the pitch.
Great. Joe, you've long since advocated for the 4 at the back. What do you think of Lex's team there?
I'm pretty much with it. It doesn't look like Chakwa's going to be fit, so I would obviously put Dillon in 11th there. And I'm sorry, I think Chris Cadden's got to be dropped and give Megwai his chance. But other than that, that looks a pretty good team to me.
No worries. Anybody else want to come in on that before we...
Do you know, like, the one thing I'm looking at and I'm looking at our options across the board, like if we're playing with, for instance, a 2 or a 3 with Mulligan, McGrath, and say Levitt or Barlas, it doesn't really matter. My concern is, like, Mulligan's one we're asking to drive forward. We're asking then our wing backs to push forward. We're asking McGrath to play in that sort of 10 role, or as a split 10 as we've been playing this season. We don't have, like, and I've mentioned, referenced this point before, Levitt doesn't have the legs to cover the pitch like a Triantis did. And actually Barlasa looks slower than Levitt does. He looks even worse. My concern is that we are missing Triantis, who didn't look like a blistering pace, but glided across the ground. He covered a lot of ground. If we don't have Chaiwa in that team, that's where I kind of worry, and I feel we get exposed.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think we have somebody that can cover the ground like a Triantis or a Chaiwa can.
That's a fair point.
I tell you, really interesting. I'll use the Lennon quotes. Stephen, I'll come to you in just a second. One of the group chats that I'm in on WhatsApp earlier, there was a fan from another team who posted a chart of midfielders making forward passes or progressive passes. I think it was
seen
called.
this today.
And I think we didn't have anybody in the top half of it. I think our highest ranking player was Josh Mulligan, but he was still in the bottom quartile for number of forward passes and the number of effective progressive passes as well. Is Chris? You know what I'm talking about? Is that indicative of where our problems lie? Like, we've not got a midfield that's passing the ball effectively up the pitch.
Yeah, because we kind of referenced it previously, where a lot of times we're just missing out the midfield, and we're launching it to Bowie. Like, whereas last season we built, because Triantis would drop in and take the ball in the half turn, we were passing through that midfield. Newell can do it. Levitt can do it, but Levitt will need somebody else alongside him, and I think Barlasa can do it as well. Like, he obviously had a lot of passes in the derby, like a lot of touches in the game. He can take it, and he can take it on that half turn. Just none of them have that, as I say, the legs to cover the space. So I just think we need to kind of get back to finding that, and if we find the settled system where if we can get Chaiwa fit or Mulligan then just has to sit and take the ball and then drive slightly forward, but then get it into the 10 and whoever to then do the creative stuff, as opposed to just either knocking it into channels for Cadden or Abita, whoever it is, to run into, or launch it forward to Bowie, who then has to wrestle somebody.
Stephen.
Thanks, Matty. Just a couple of observations from me. I'm not against the personnel within that team. I'm of the opinion I don't think we need to go back 4-0 at Livingston. So I'd take out either Rocky or Hanley, and I'm undecided on who to take out because Hanley has been pretty good since he's came in.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have one of the two centre backs sitting behind that three. Personally, I would go with Levitt in that role because he can then link the passes from the defence to the forward midfields and then up front rather than just lumping it along to Bowie, which I think, to echo the point there about we've not got many forward passes in the team, that's possibly why we're reverting to that. My only other concern about that team would be from a defensive point of view, and obviously with Cleege and Nicky Cadden, you would expect him to drop back in a defensive position when we were defending. If Cleege is an out-and-out striker, I'm not entirely sure how good he's going to be at that role. So I can't foresee Livingston having a system or a tactical set up on Saturday that will have them attacking an awful lot, but I would be quite worried. I don't think Cadden is the most adept at defending, which is always why, depending on who we're up against, if you were going between a Beattie or Cadden, you would always go with a Beattie if you're expected to defend more. Mm-hmm. It's good that I've said all along, if you can get a Beattie and Cadden into some sort of formation that works, absolutely go for it. I think the comment about the forward passing was that I've seen something on Twitter. It was I think it was Paul Scholes that was talking about Alex Ferguson when he played AC Milan in 2009. He brought Park into the team, and his role was to literally stop Kaka making forward passes.
Yeah,
I think he averaged something like 90 forward passes in a game, and that night at Old Trafford, he averaged something like 35, and I think Man United won and went through an aggregate. So, yeah, if you can get Levitt into that team by going to the back three and having one sitting behind those three, that's probably what I would do, potentially.
Nice one. And Ian, you got your hand up as well.
Yeah, the only thing about the back four, as far as I can see, we've only played a back four against Partizan the first game. So that's, I think, the only time we've done it. I think Stevie's right. I think we have to bite the bullet, and it's either Rocky or Hanley. Just interestingly, I think the problem with Barlaser as I see is he doesn't go and pick up the ball enough from the keeper in the way that Levitt does, but also he was passing against Hearts, and he did an excellent pass from the centre out wide to the left. The only problem was that was the only one he did. And there's the sort of thing, Levitt will do that, say, 5 times a game. Mm-hmm. And Barlaser did it once. And so I remember it because I thought, wow, I hope he's going to do that again. And he didn't.
Okay, let me just pick up a couple of comments on YouTube. So Green T said the chat in Hibernian Observer is a good listen regarding Miko's influence in the team last season. I actually listened to that while I was cooking my dinner earlier on. Agree with Green T is a good chat, and definitely it was interesting to hear their views on what's not quite clicking yet. Jason Suchaiwa has the potential to cover that Nectar role. Kieran said Barlaser has been in the door 2 minutes, give him a chance. Sandy said the players that have gone are not forgotten. We have to play and tactically change with the group we have. Kieran said Miko played in a lot of winning games last season. He played better than Bowie is playing now, and folk were tearing him to shreds. J Star said surely Gray can see this isn't working with Bowie and should be changing this. Ronnie said, wonder how Zach Mitchell is. Has anybody heard how he's doing? So Mitchell played, I think, in a bounce game. I can't remember who we played, but I think he scored.
He played for the development team in the top last weekend and scored.
So
I think he scored and had an assist as well, actually.
Yeah, so he must be getting close to the side. I wonder if Chris, we might see him featured at the weekend.
Unless it's pre-planned and they've been working on something in training, as we've already referenced, then I can only maybe see him on the bench if Rocky's kind of get back late. That's the only thing I can see. I can't just see us dropping him in there at the moment.
Okay. Kieran said we don't have any more than 2 players beyond the ball, so we can't play forward passes. And Mr. Rab said, evening, Aubrey, looking forward-ish to getting back to it. It was through for the Scotland game on Sunday, and it was like watching Hibs playing in dark blue at times. And Kieran said, Matty, your passing chart that was put up as a big problem. 600 passes a game start of the season, 300 passes a game now. We can't cope with teams pressing us, so we go long and give up possession. John, do you think that's a tactical shift from Gray, or is it just down to the players kind of losing a bit of confidence?
think confidence has sort of dribbled away a little bit in terms of, because that's what results do. We lose a late goal in Poland. We lose silly goals before half time against Kilmarnock and then letting a worldie. We allow a header from the penalty spot against Falkirk to creep in at the post. I mean, a good header, but again, he shouldn't be winning the header unchallenged. There's all those little things that are going wrong. And it's just that question in terms of the players. They need to get their confidence back up. And that's what the last 2 weeks should have been. Those who've been away on international duty, I mean, I've had a break from it. I mean, talked last week about the idea that sort of Boyle, has that great idea where after the derby, he gets to go on a plane, I mean, and go away and not have to face up to anything that's come from it. But that's happened for all the players, for 9 of them that went away. And the ones that are here, I'm quite sure that it will have been clear the cobwebs out, and just sort of work hard. Those that are behind their fitness and bring them up. But no, confidence will come from winning games, and being clinical. The getting Hanley coming in and showing a bit of stability in the back line, particularly against Celtic, although as has been pointed out, if they're going to miss sitters for 6 yards out, then that sometimes is going to be the way it goes. But it feels as if we're more solid. So no, build from the back. Don't let anything in, and let's see somebody scoring at the other end.
Okay, right. Let's we're going to the last few minutes, so let's look ahead to Saturday. Then, John, and while you're on, I'll start with you. How do you see it going? What's the story of the match going to be on Saturday?
First 10 minutes, Livingston will run daft to try and chase down everything that we do, and every Hibs player that has the ball will have a Livingston player chasing them. We get through that period, start to get a bit of control. By the 20th minute, their strikers are back in the halfway line as soon as we're playing the ball out from the back, and it's then about us playing through them. Just score the goals. Take the chances when they come. We will create 4 or 5 really good chances in the match. Take 3 or 4 of them.
Okay, right. I'll get a score prediction for you before we finish. Jeff, same question to you. What's the story of the game going to be on Saturday?
I think it's compared to some previous Livingston games, I think it might actually be a spectacle, hopefully. And if they don't park the bus, then we should score a few. The defence is looking solid, whichever one we put out. And Livingston don't score a lot of goals, so the back door should be shut on Saturday. It's just a matter of doing, as somebody said, we've just not taken our fair share of chances. You don't score every chance you have, but we've missed some absolute sitters. I just looked at Livingston's stats against Dundee United. They actually had 413. They had more passes than Dundee United and more possession playing away from home. That's not Livingston normal.
No, I think Livingston have definitely improved their style, Jeff. You said you had seen them. I watched them against Rangers, and they were certainly like a bit of a surprise package in terms of how they played. And I thought
they had 173 forward passes against 134. And less long balls than Dundee United.
Their forwards were a handful for the Rangers defence. They really struggled with them.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, same question to you.
Do you know what? I kind of disagree with other John in terms that Livy will come chasing us. I think we'll go at them right for the off. Like we've generally this season started pretty fast, and it's been later in the game where we've kind of fell away. So I expect us to start fast, early goal, and then really just take control of the game. Early goal, confidence, and then I see us taking goals off them.
Hope you're right. Okay, Joe, what are your thoughts on it?
I think provided Dylan Levitt and Klidgey play, and as we've said already, Bowie adapts the position he's been playing slightly, I think Hibs will walk at 4 or 5-1.
All right, quite a heavy victory there, right? We'll definitely we'll take that. Ian, same question to you.
It's the only problem with not playing Rocky is Hanley doesn't seem to be as much of a threat from corner kicks. So don't change the back line at all. So Salinger, Hanley, O'Hara, Cadden, Ardale, Obita, Levitt in for Balassa, If McGrath's fit in for Josh Campbell, if not, I'll be quite happy playing Josh Campbell again. Mulligan, Bowie, and Cleegee, Boyle rested. I think, as John said, take three chances, so 3-0.
There's you 3-0. Joe, you were a 4 and a 5-1. Stephen, what's the story of the game going to be?
I take on board the points about Livingston trying to improve their style. I think it might come from the fact that they changed their pitch and it's a better quality of pitch that they have now, so they've almost enforced themselves to actually try and play a bit better. I am hopeful, though, that as Chris says, we'll get out from the start, we'll get an early goal, try and build on that. I think Livingston will probably be looking at it as a potential to get something away from home, and for all the plaudits they're getting, they've not made the strongest of starts in terms of points.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I remember under the Lee Johnson, they came to East Road and won 3-2, and I think that was their only win for about 5 or 6 months before they got relegated later in the season. So I'd like to say a comfortable 2-0 Hibs, but yeah, it might be 2-0 Hibs, but maybe not quite as comfortable as we'd all like and hope for.
Okay. Chris, what scoreline you going for?
4-1. I think we'll beat 4-1. I think we'll get the early goal and we will take a couple of goals off them. It'll probably go 3-1, then we'll score late on.
Nice one. Jeff, score prediction for you?
3-0.
Okay.
I think solid defensively. Just keep switched on. And Bowie's due a goal. And I think Cleegee, quite excited about him. Like Joe is, I think he's going to be one of our star players once he gets a regular run.
Mm-hmm. I saw somebody on Twitter had just absolutely written off Cleegee already as well.
He's
blows my mind.
The little bits he's shown. I mean, his first few games, he never really got a chance. But Livingston, St Mirren, he started the game. He did well. It was his goal, not Rocky's, as we've already discussed. Came on a sub against Legia, nearly won the game for us. He got pulled back when he got over the keeper. That should have been a penalty.
Yeah,
he's a live wire. He's going to be good.
Yeah.
Okay, John, score prediction.
I think we'll win 2-1, having come back from 1-0 down.
I think it's a clean sweep of wins. I'll go for a win as well. I'll save the scoreline for the preview show, which we'll do tomorrow. So Colin and John and myself will be back with the preview show round about 4:30 tomorrow. We'll be live on YouTube, so tune in for that. And if you haven't caught Sunday's episodes with Louis from Admiral Fallow, with Colin hosting with John, it's well worth your time. A really fascinating episode, so go and check out if you haven't already. A couple other things to mention. Friday will be, as usual, our release of our The Banger newsletter, which is a collection of fan writings. Gone down really well so far. Feedback we've had is brilliant. It's absolutely free. You just need to be registered on our Patreon. You don't have to be a paid subscriber on it. You get that, and it's a collection of sort of heartfelt stories, short stories, funny stories, some random stuff, some game memories, match reviews, etc. But all of it written for the heart by fans. So would thoroughly recommend that. So check out the Patreon. And the last thing I'll plug is our Redbubble store as well. If you want to check out some Long Bangers merch, you get T-shirts and mouse mats and phone cases and all this kind of thing, which with Christmas coming up will make an ideal present for somebody, or for somebody you didn't like. Do you know, you might have a secret Santa with somebody at work. You're like, they're a bit of a prick. Get them a Long Bangers T-shirt, and then they'll get the message loud and clear. Right, that's us. Thanks, guys, for coming on tonight, giving up your time. It's been a great episode. Great to have you on. Thanks to everybody who joined us on YouTube as well, and we'll see you all.